I don't know. I know it's a hoax. It's started by Democrats. It's been run by the Democrats for 4 years. You had Christopher Wray and these characters and Comey before him.
Conspiracy theories. They're everywhere, and a majority of the world believes in at least one. In surveys studying conspiracy beliefs, researchers found that 64% of people in the US believe in a conspiracy theory. We've all seen the tinfoil hat wearing individuals discussing these conspiracies online and assume we couldn't fall for them. Yet so many seemingly regular people incorporate them into their lives. All a conspiracy needs is to be adaptable and believable enough.
That Israel has been behind World War I, World War II.
Okay, section 1 on the what's of conspiracy theories. Scientific institutions are often at the forefront of attacks for these conspiracies. What makes a conspiracy, according to social psychology, is the belief that an institution must be led by a specific group of people who are trying to destroy the livelihoods of another group of specific people. Often, individuals believe that whoever is leading scientific institutions is trying to spread false info in order to push certain narratives or oppress groups. For example, it takes just a few TikTok scrolls to find videos spreading various misinformation about nutrition science, Diet Coke, seed oils, fast food, holistic food treatments. While the information may seem harmless, this uncertainty leads people to be more skeptical of other scientific findings, vaccines, medications, research innovations. For example, let's look at this Instagram account that is supposedly fighting big institutions. The name of the account is Base Painter on Instagram. As when somebody is already exposed to anti-science beliefs, they may interact with this user due to their posts on anti-science health trends like raw milk, anti-vaccination, and a non-belief in climate change. However, once in, it doesn't take long to be forced to interact with the commoners who have an obsession with thinking that everything the government does is a conspiracy theory. In these comments, they have an obsession with Jewish people, that these people who are controlling the government are trying to annihilate white people or Christian values. The conspiracies are rampant all over the comment section, and the videos just perpetuate it. Section 2. How do these conspiracies spread online? Exposure to these kinds of things isn't really something someone tries to initially go into. Rather, the design of platforms does a good job of getting into people's psychology and creating social phenomena related to gamification of communication, polarization of groups, and personal pleasure. Gamification of communication involves applying game-like principles such as points and trophies to real-life discussions. On social media platforms, users are rewarded with communication based on likes, comments, and shares. In this, individuals feel more adhered to social norms and feel as if they're getting social support, which are social psychology principles necessary for a person to maintain consistent view of themselves in the world. And also, algorithms favor higher engagement and thus will push certain content more, which loops back to provide more gamified rewards to posters. According to Nguyen in his poster, How Twitter Gamifies Communication, he states, "Gamification changes our goals to aim at expressions which maximize our scores rather than those which aid our collective understanding, and it promises to reward that change with pleasure." Conspiracies are the easiest to get this kind of exchange, as conspiracies align with people's pre-existing beliefs about certain groups. Those that confirm biases and stereotypes are more likely to spread, as they provide the pleasure of supporting one's worldview. This in turn allows individuals to find other people on these platforms with similar views and get more interactions and exposure to beliefs similar to theirs. Algorithms reward these highly biased posts and people, and will recommend them to people who like and follow similar content. Because conspiracy content has a lot of moral value behind it, such as good versus evil, it makes it easier for people to be willing to exchange complex communication for gamified interactions. Why would you talk to someone civilly if you believe that they're a morally bad person? This polarized discourse leads to a phenomena like echo chambers on social media platforms. In these echo chambers, individuals are dedicated to following certain ideas and are unwilling to reciprocate proper communication with outgroups. In these chambers, individuals heavily reiterate moral outrage porn, which is basically a condemnation of outside opinion, which further supports conspiratorial beliefs. Not following these social norms can lead to group ostracism and may result in an individual being removed or punished by the group. If someone has created their entire worldview around these ideas and has a social media group that supports it, they won't be willing to give them up. According to social psychology principles, people want to maintain consistent ideas about their self identity. When information conflicts this, rather than correcting themselves and potentially harming their self esteem, an individual is more likely to ingest the information to best fit their worldview, or they may seek out other information that supports their worldview. Nagoyan agrees with this, as he states in his essay regarding processing information and communication. In exchange for abandoning these epistemic claims, echo chambers offer their members the pleasures of confidence, simple coherence, and unity. A strong sense of self-esteem is created here as conspiracy believers feel that they are doing the morally right thing based on other users' beliefs and posts in these echo chambers. As communication continues, all it leads to is more extremist communication and views, further polarization between groups, and more negative meta-perceptions from outside groups. Now, what do anti-science conspiracies do to people? Conspiracies don't just stay online, they spill over into the real world as well. Because a conspiracy has the belief that elites control certain aspects of the world, these conspiracies lead individuals to feel that normative political action is unnecessary, as elites control every aspect. Individuals looking at conspiracies related to science, such as vaccination and climate change, may then be less likely to cooperate with recommendations or rules set by scientific findings. This has implications such as more encouraged violence and not cooperating with society. In the case of COVID, at a time of widespread social conflict, health crisis, financial crisis, individuals throughout society felt anxious about the overall socio-political ecosystem. Because of this, conspiracies have alleviated that stress. It's easy for someone's sense-making process to put blame on someone else rather than accepting that the complex and uncertain mechanisms of the world are responsible for this. Conspiracies emerge that cause distrust in various institutions. For example, people believe that the vaccine was given as a means of control by the government, and that COVID was a biological weapon made by the Chinese government. In turn, these conspiracies cause real consequences in the real world. For example, Asian people were hate crime due to the fueled anger by anti-Chinese conspiracies, and people were reluctant to wear masks and vaccinate themselves. This has continued over the years, with reports by the CDC showing that childhood vaccination rates are continuing to decrease, with conspiracies fueling this statistic. For example, in Idaho, MMR vaccinations for kindergarteners is 78%, well below the necessary 95% prevention rate. While health effects are clearly shown, with infections increasing from these diseases, conspiratorial beliefs often cause individuals to not listen to outside opinion. Because of these consequences, what are the solutions that can be taken to prevent the spread of these conspiracies? Some social media platforms have tried to slow down the spread of misinformation through efforts such as Twitter's community note feature, verification labels, and context labels. Even some platforms have removed outright conspiracies, such as in 2019 when YouTube changed its guidelines to remove content that brushed against hate speech, similar to conspiracies, and content that denied prominent events. However, despite these efforts, people often react to conspiracies being removed with reactance. They believe that the reason their content is being removed is because the elites are trying to censor them and keep a certain narrative. The results are also mixed for these anti-conspiracy efforts. For example, in a study by researchers Lee and Chang on fact checks, they found that fact checkers were mostly used as a way for people to determine if information was useful based on how much the truth coincided with their personal beliefs. Other studies like algorithmic extremism, examining YouTube's rabbit hole of radicalization, found an interesting finding that conspiracy channels seem to gain no traffic from recommendations. Rather, the interactions were fueled simply by individual choice. Overall, the reality is that the problem is a result of various identity polarizations being amplified on social media. Rather than placing sole blame on algorithms, we must take into account how the design of the digital space promotes interactions, and that individuals play an active role in using this design to spread conspiracies through personal means. I believe that correcting these beliefs requires both a real-world educational approach along with in-app changes to algorithms, gamification of communications, and changes to fact-checking. For now, it seems that we have to put up with this. Despite this, it is ever more important that we become aware of our biases and work on fact-checking information so that we don't fall into this rabbit hole of extremism.